Hello, my name is Vicky Manitou Okas, and today we're going to build a propagation tray. I've been doing propagation trays, tiny little ones, for years now, and I find that this propagation tray, no matter what size I'm building it in, is one of the best ways to propagate cuttings, especially ones that are difficult. This is my old propagation tray. Okay. I've got bay in this, and bay is notorious for being difficult to propagate. This is the only way that I have been able to propagate bay laurel. So we're going to build a tray today, and I'm going to step you through it step by step, all the way through from beginning to end. So we're going to start with the materials. Okay, and you can see here on the table that it starts with a jug, and you need a drill, a saw, a marker, ruler, a little bit of glue, and a little tiny bit of window screen. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is measure. Set the rest of the stuff aside. So we're going to measure where we want to make the cut, and you can build this out of any gallon tray, essentially gallon jug. So what I've got here is a laundry detergent jug, but any sturdy jug will do. You can use a vinegar jug or a gallon ice cream bucket, bleach jug. You have to make sure that everything is completely cleaned out. No chemicals left in there. So I've already washed this out. So this is completely washed out. When it stopped sudsing, I put a little bit of vinegar in it to finish cleaning it out and rinsed it all out. So this is clean. So you take your ruler and I'm going to decide where I want this to be. And I'm going to mark. I want this because of the shape of the jug, I want this 5 inches tall. So I'm going to mark 5 inches all the way around the jug. My cut marks. Cooperate. There we go. Mark this so I know where I'm cutting. Not rocket science, so if it doesn't quite match up, that's okay. All right, now the next thing I need to mark is where I'm going to put the drainage hole. So this has got to be down a little bit from the mark where I'm going to cut. I want this down, about an inch and a half from the top. So I want this down about right there. Sorry, lid in the mouth. Okay, so we're going to put the drainage hole right here. And that's the first thing that I'm going to cut or drill, because that is going to be the most stable um, with the jug is whole. So I'm done with that. I'm done with the marker. Put those aside. Next step is the drill. Now this is just a hand crank drill. It's a brace and bit. Okay, this works beautifully for small projects. Okay, brace the. Is it against me? A few holes in there. If you've got a hole saw, a bigger drill bit, that works better. But this is the bit that fits into this drill. I like that one because that is quiet. Okay, now I forgot to grab my knife, so I'm going to grab a knife and I'm going to cut that on out. It's an expensive knife. Be very, very careful. Okay, that'll come on out when I finish cutting. Okay. This is a crafter saw or old tree saw, folding saw, camp saw. I find these at sporting goods store or camp stores. Okay. And this is what I use to saw through the plastic very carefully so you don't cut your hand. Yeah, it's best if your cuts match up. So that's one way to do it. You got a sharp knife. Either way, be careful. This is not rocket science. You got your guides. Right there, I didn't match that up as well as I would like, but I can fix that. All right, and there is the basic tray. Okay. Clean that up a little bit. What I'll do to clean this up is I'll put a little bit of glue in there. It's what I like about using things like the laundry jugs is if I don't get what I like, I wait till the next laundry jug. Okay, so you've got a handle. Okay, you've got the drainage hole. All right, now there's your base of your propagation tray. So the next thing I'm going to do is dry that up on the inside. Okay. Now to keep the sand in, and let the water drain, you need a little bit of window screen, but we're going to put that on the inside. So you can do that with tape, you do that with glue. I like to use a little bit of glue. This is just a polymer glue. Slather that in there. Take the window screen and set it into that glue. Push it in, get that well embedded. Okay. Now, once the sand is in there, the sand will also help hold that. And normally I would wait about 24 hours before I put the sand in there, but we're not going to wait today. But it's best to wait for at least 24 hours before you put the sand in. Okay, to let the glue set, let any fumes dissipate, so that you're not have things in the propagation tray that you don't want. Okay, now next thing we do is we fill that with sand. And I just bought the sand is the only expensive part, or the most expensive part of the propagation tray. I just spent $5 on 50 gallons of sand, or 50 pounds of sand, and it's not going to take all of it. Okay. And you fill that up with sand. Just fill it up, spread it out. Most of the way to the top. You want to make sure that you're using clean sand. So if you don't have have access to clean sand, you need to make sure that you wash it. Okay. And when we get done, that drainage hole is going to be about 1 to 2 inches below the sand level. Just pack that in there. Fill it on up. Make a mess. Here we go. And that is basic propagation tray. Now, what I do is when you water it, I need to get a tray here. Okay, when you water it with a what city water is not good for plants. Okay, so I water with either rainwater or distilled water, and I prefer rainwater. There you go. So I've got some collected rainwater. And when I water the propagation tray, this old handle is perfect. And eventually, that will come out right here. Right, so that is doing what it's supposed to do. It is settling that down a little bit, which I need to do. I may have to add some more sand to that. That's why you charge it. You just keep filling it until I'm going to add a little bit more sand. Slowly add water until it starts draining out the drainage hole. By putting the water in here, that waters it down to the bottom first, and it raises it up. Okay, the other thing that does is it gets water in there without disturbing the plants, the cuttings. So it might take the whole gallon, but I don't think it will. It should take about half a gallon. About a quart in there so far. I'm going to put some more sand in there. I can tell that it's getting close because it's filling up the intake. And so just draining on through. And once you get the water in there, that's a little bit heavy. See how that's sinking down? Well, I'm going to have to add a little bit more sand. That's why you charge it. There it is, draining out. Now that's going to, what I would do, what I would tend to do is put lots more water in there, take it outside, and I would take this whole gallon of water and put through there um, because that's going to help rinse the uh, small stuff on out. Okay, see it's the little bit muddy. Okay, but I want to run water through there until that is clear. Okay. And I'm going to add a little bit more sand to that because you can see how far that went down. Now, the reason that you do it this way is because that keeps the moisture level in your sand perfect for propagating plants. Okay, so your water level is down below that drainage hole. So your water level is going to stay right here, but it's going to wick up into the upper levels of the sand, which gives those plants perfect level of moisture constantly to take root. So you're not having to fuss about um, how much moisture Well, you don't have to fuss about the propagation medium drying out, because there's always that reservoir of water down in the bottom of that to wick up into the plants, and yet it doesn't drown them. So you've got just a little bit of moisture for the plants to take up, but not too much. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this outside to finish rinsing that sand, okay, to get the rest of that dirt out of there, that mud out of there. It's not really going to hurt anything, but it is better to flush that until that runs clear. Okay. And there's your propagation tray. Now we're going to, the way I put the plants in there, I use rooting hormone for most plants, especially something like the bay. But when you are putting plants in there, take and cut your slit, okay? And you find a cutting, or take your cutting, and these are already starting to root. Look at that. That is actually ready to plant. There you go. See it? Look at that. Bay is really, really hard to get to root. And I had checked one of them earlier, but man, that's nice roots. That's ready to plant up. But if that didn't have roots, I would be taking that stem and slipping it into that slit that I just made, and then firm that down in around it, okay, and then you just let it sit there until it roots. This bay has been sitting in the purple propagation tray since August. Okay, that's how long bay takes. Sometimes it takes a while. Rosemary and your mints just take a couple of weeks. So um, when you're getting ready to check your, where did that go? There it is. When you get ready to check your roots, you take your knife or your spatula and you loosen that soil around the plant so that you're not tearing the roots off. Okay, so to plant it, make a slit, dip it in rooting hormone, slip it into that slit, firm it around. To take it out, you check it, you loosen the sand around it, and very gently pull that out to check for roots. All right, that is it. That's it's just that easy. And the total cost on this was $5, which is less than a plant, less than one plant. This bay, if I bought that bay rooted and growing, that would have cost me maybe $5-10. Okay, propagation tray costs you $5, and you're not even going to use a whole bag of sand, and that's really your only cost. So, all right, thank you. And the resources that go with this will be in Delectable Tiny Gardens, and I invite you to come play in the dirt with us, because there's lots of material like this in there. All right, thank you.